Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the North Kesteven series. This is a large Lincolnshire district centred around the town of Sleaford. There's 75 parishes here, so let's take a look at one of them. Welcome back to North Kesteven, everybody, and we're in the vicinity of Sleaford here. In fact, part of this video will even touch on bits of Sleaford which actually fall within today's parish boundaries. It's one of those weird ones that's got more than just the actual village. Well, the actual village itself is quite a pleasant little place. Let's take a walk around it and see what's in Kirkby la Thorpe. The North Kesteven series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Kirkby la Thorpe, Leithulf's farm with a church. In North Kesteven this time around, we come to another village that borders the largest town in the district, Sleaford. In fact, part of Sleaford falls within the boundaries here, vastly adding to the population of the parish. This is Kirkby la Thorpe, which in itself is very interesting. Kirkby la Thorpe's name doesn't mean what you might think it does based on previous episodes. Kirkby is church village, but La Thorpe actually makes little to no sense. That's because it should be Laythorpe, all one word, but thanks to an error on an OS map, it's known as Kirkby la Thorpe today. Laythorpe was one of 3 lost villages within the parish boundaries. The other 2 were Burgh and, rather confusingly, Thorpe. The waters are somewhat muddied further when you consider that nobody knows for sure which one was which. Within the current village there's a school, a church and a pub called the Queen's Head. Mind you, if the village was all there was to this, the episode would be very short. Because the boundaries cover part of Sleaford, we'll also be talking about the town's police station, a football club, and a brand new power plant, among other things. There's even a small reservoir too. This has to be one of the most diverse and intriguing parishes anywhere in North Kesteven. So, let's cut the chatter and let's go. Even though Kirkby la Thorpe is a village, the parish boundaries cover a much wider area, so much so that they extend into Sleaford. This is Milton Way, part of a modern housing area known as the Poets' Estate. All the streets here are named after famous figures in the world of poetry, names such as Burns, Chaucer, Eliot, Keats and Wordsworth. In 1924, the Poets' Estate fell within the ecclesiastical parish of New Sleaford after the boundary between New Sleaford and the parish of Quarrington and Old Sleaford was altered from the River Slee to the town's railway line. In the late 1990s, Sleaford Town Council consulted residents over a proposed change in the civil parish boundary in order to realign these parts within the town, but this was rejected as most residents were happy to remain within Kirkby la Thorpe instead. The Poets' Estate is just south of Sleaford Police Station, off a street called the Hoplands. That too is also just within Kirkby la Thorpe. Historically, Sleaford's police station was on the other side of the town, on Eastgate. It was a remarkably neat building dating from 1845, and it featured its own lockup that had 4 separate cells. I'm sure this, the modern version, is a little more accommodating when it comes to space availability, but then most people would likely rather not find out firsthand. Just up the Boston Road we come to Sleaford Park. This is the home ground of Sleaford Town Football Club, who play in the United Counties League Premier Division. That sits at level 9 in the English football pyramid, but this is a club on the up. Sleaford Town were founded in 1923 and began life in the Lincolnshire League. For a short period the club played within the confines of the RAF base at Cranwell. Despite being one of the most successful teams in the Lincolnshire League, promotion to the United Counties League was not allowed until Sleaford Park was opened in 2006. Continuing eastwards away from the football ground, the next landmark stands out thanks to its tall fluted chimneys. Since 2014, Sleaford has been producing power thanks to a 38 megawatt renewable energy plant. It generates enough electricity to power 65,000 homes using sustainable fuel sources. It also provides free heating to 5 schools in the town. It's an incredibly efficient power station too. Since its construction, it's saved some 50,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide from entering the atmosphere annually, helping the UK achieve its renewable energy targets. The plant cost £165 million to build, and it provides jobs for between 30 and 50 people. It's not an eyesore either. Our main walk is only a short one because Kirkby is only a small village when compared to the extent of the parish. We begin on Kirkby Road, almost at the end of civilization, and we're heading south towards the A17, the church, the school and the Queen's Head pub. For the most part, Kirkby la Thorpe occupies either side of a lane that leads from the A17 to Kirkby. That makes it a typical linear village in modern terms. However, several centuries ago, that would likely have been a different story. Of course, the A17 didn't exist back then, but several other villages and hamlets did. This field is full of earthworks. There can be no denying that these mark the site of a former village, but nobody knows which one. There were 3, Thorpe, Burgh and Laythorpe, the latter of which was mistakenly recorded as Laythorpe on an OS map. That mistake lives on in the modern village name. We might not know which village the earthworks belong to, but St Dennis's Church is right next to them. Kirkby previously contained 2 churches, but St Peter's, mentioned in the Domesday Book as belonging to Burgh, was pulled down centuries ago. Burgh would eventually become part of Kirkby in the latter part of the medieval period. This Grade 2 listed building originated in the 12th century, although its chancel was rebuilt in 1854. The tower incorporates elements of a former Saxon building, and there's remnants of 14th century glass in the aisle windows. It was part of the Lessingham group of churches until the latter part of 2009, when the ecclesiastical parishes of Kirkby la Thorpe and Kirkby became part of the benefice of New Sleaford, to be held in plurality. The churchyard is a decent size too, given how small a place this is. Here's a quick look across it. Now, I'm sure you'll have gathered from what you've seen so far that it's really windy here today. Storm Lillian is passing over this area right now, which means things are a bit wobbly. The camera's wobbling around a little bit. Hopefully it's all alright for you though. Let's continue down this main street. Next to pass is the school, and we're heading towards a pub next as well. Here's the school. This is a Church of England establishment comprising an original 1860 building with its classroom and school hall. An extension housing 3 additional classrooms, cloakroom and library was opened in April 2004, and 2 further rooms were added in the summer of 2011. Right outside that we've got the parish notice board. Kirkby la Thorpe is in the books, and we're down to 32 in North Kesteven. Beyond the school, Kirkby becomes residential for a good distance, pretty much the rest of the lane between here and the A17. Most of it is modern 20th century housing. The fact that Kirkby has a rather modern feel to it is rather unusual when compared to others we've encountered like it. As recently as the OS map published in 1906, Kirkby la Thorpe only had a handful of houses, most of which were clustered around the Queen's Head pub. That still exists, and we'll see it shortly. Otherwise, this lane had at most 10 houses scattered along its length. That 1906 map also shows that Church Lane used to have a junction with Boston Road, the very same that Sleaford Park and the power plant sit upon today. However, now that's not the case. Instead, it meets Mount Lane. This road is part of an extension that forms Kirkby Interchange, the junction you would use to access the village from the A17. When the junction was created, it split Church Lane into two pieces. The second, much shorter piece is now a cul-de-sac, and it contains the Queen's Head pub. Considered one of the top-ranked pub and restaurants in the UK, the Queen's Head is known for its fine food and often hosts private events, parties and business meetings. The restaurant also hosts live music and holds outdoor barbecues in the summertime. Earlier in 2024, the restaurant was awarded an AA Rosette. We're now at the point where we have to start making our way back to the start. Although Kirkby Village does extend over the A17, the fact that road is there makes walking any further a little tricky. Luckily though, there is a footpath that runs in a dead straight diagonal fashion across the surrounding fields and back to the earthworks near the church. With the sound of the traffic on the A17 providing a soundtrack in the background, this walk took about 10 minutes. It was a little tough in places underfoot and slightly uphill, but eventually the church and the earthworks came into view once again. Okay, so now we've hit the field of earthworks next to the church, and you can definitely tell now just how pronounced these are. I seriously hope you can hear what I'm saying because the wind is just refusing to drop right now. But there we are, there's the church and there's the earthworks, and let's head back to the car. As well as splitting Church Lane into two pieces, the creation of Kirkby Interchange also had the effect of cutting off Mount Lane from the rest of the village, although you can still access it via the junction. On that same 1906 OS map, Mount Lane was just as bereft of housing as Church Lane was, if not more so. As you can see now though, that's not the case. A century back, the largest landmark down here was Mount Lane Farm. The map also shows the site of a chapel, but despite my best efforts I was unable to track down what that was. Driving down Mount Lane, one landmark that's impossible to miss is a level crossing, where the Poacher Line, last seen in Ancaster, passes through the parish on its way to Skegness. Although not a major line, it still forms part of a major route from the industrial Midland cities and carries seasonal traffic to the coast in the summertime. Next week we'll be encountering a station which this line serves. Our final landmark is a small reservoir. This is located up an unnamed track off Mount Lane. Now I'm not 100% sure when it comes to the purpose of this one, but I would imagine it's one that was built to supply Sleaford. That would make sense, given it's so close to the town. It's off limits to us though because the only way to access it is via a small farm track that's private. Interestingly, part of this reservoir is built over some further earthworks. These included a backfilled drainage ditch and a series of post-medieval land drains. Roman, medieval and post-medieval pottery has also been recovered from topsoil close to this in the past as well. With the reservoir behind us, it's time to make our way east towards the next in the series. Mind you, it's not always an easy task out here. You have to be prepared in these parts to do a bit of wrestling with farm vehicles. This is Lincolnshire after all, and they are everywhere. Come back next week as we head for the only working 8-sailed windmill in the world. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.